Hey guys, welcome back to another Cultured Boys discussion. I'm Pepe and I'm joined by Nathan. And today we're talking about one of our favorite series of all time. I'd say it's one of our favorite ones, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that is Mob Psycho 100. So the new series has just dropped in October, and so probably like a few weeks after that. So that's the launch at the moment. There's a lot of good stuff coming up this season from the trailers and that we've seen. But yeah, we're just gonna have a little discussion about it. We're gonna talk a little bit about some of the past episodes. We're gonna try and talk about a bit of new episode, like what we expect from it. I'm aware that Nathan hasn't watched the latest episode yet.
Yes. Don't. Well, I'll get into that.
We'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, we're just gonna talk just a little bit about Mob Psycho and how we got into it, like our thoughts on it, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, how are you? How are you, Nate? How are you today?
I am good. This is a long time coming, considering the amount of episodes we've done centered around manga and anime, and we've referenced and spoken about this series a lot. But like, even to me, I'm actually kind of surprised we haven't done this yet. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I think it's like we're kind of looking for a reason to be honest. I think the new series starting is a good like opportunity to talk about this because there's a lot of stuff upcoming, and like there's always stuff like should we do this, should we do this, and like yeah, I'm happy to talk about this because I think you watched this before me, didn't you?
I
I
did.
think because I was watching One Punch Man and I was hyped about that, and then you were telling me about Mob Psycho, and I think I tried to watch the first episode and was just a bit thrown off by the art style at first. Because the thing is with Mob Psycho is the thing that catches you first is like, why is this art style so fucking weird? Like, why does it look like this? You got like really polished anime, like really like super well designed characters that like have really like loads of intricacies and all that sort of stuff. And you got Mob Psycho, where half the time it literally just looks like the most basic shit ever. No, like more than I can do whatsoever. But like when you've seen stuff like Attack on Titan, or you've seen stuff like no, like One Punch Man, where you got those epic bits,
If
like
you're gonna compare it to those, yeah, it doesn't look as good.
yeah, that's the thing that catches you. That's the first thing that catches you. But the thing is with Mob Psycho though, even though those characters do look a bit strange at first, like the story is there and the story is sick.
Oh, mate, that's why I liked it. Like same like Pepe, I was watching One Punch Man, and at the time, reading the manga, and I saw that the mangaka One was also doing this other series, and I tried to read it, but One is notorious for being a great writer, but they're not so great on illustration. So it's
Mm.
really hard to read Mob Psycho because it's actually, if you look at One's original manga for it, it's much worse. And this is not throwing shade at One at all,
No.
right? It's just the illustration is the weakest point. So when the anime came out, I was like, perfect. Now I can experience this thing, and I'll just give it a go. And funny enough, I didn't think that like the quality was so bad that I couldn't get into it. I actually, when I watched it, I thought it played into it more, which
Hmm.
as the series goes on, it really does. Like the rougher style, the more like
Yeah.
basic pencil sketch style, like really, really plays into a lot of the scenes. But it's yeah, I do remember telling Pepe like you got to give it another go because seriously, it's one of the best animes at the moment, and it is literally just because like this is so character driven that and it's like really well written. Like the characters are kind of like it's comedy, but it's also slice of lifey, and it's somewhat serious. Like the characters can be kind of relatable in a strange way.
Like I see this. I wanted to just make it clear on my previous statement as well. Like I think the animation in this anime is glorious, by the way. I think it is really good. It's really well designed. And the like you said, I think the anime plays into that art style a lot. Like they're taking they're taking what they're given and they're like, okay, how do we make this work? Because realistically, like you said about the manga as well, like it is very hard to read. And for me as well, but once something has like art that really doesn't gel with me, it can really turn you off from manga.
Yeah,
itself.
same.
Like you've had that with previous series as well. Like, I
Oh
think you
yeah.
tried to read Haikyuu and you couldn't get into it, right? Because of the art. Was that
I
it?
yeah, I don't remember if it was Haikyuu, but there was a fair few series I tried to read before, and it was just like, nah, I can't gel with this. The art is too jarring.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
the
for me, even like Hunter x Hunter, like a series which is one of my top 5 series of all time. Like for me, trying to read the manga is a bit of a struggle because I do not gel with the art. Sometimes I realize Tagashi has like some health issues in that. Sometimes that contributes to it. But like for me, like an art can really turn me off from a manga completely. And realistically, if I tried to read Mob Psycho, I probably would be like, I cannot be bothered to read this. It is too much for me. Like, I'm done. Whereas the anime really lends it, like, it really does do it, like, justice.
oh yeah,
Like,
Studio Bones like killed it.
yeah,
They
I mean,
they've
it's
done
Studio
such a
Bones in
good
it,
job.
that's it, like, yeah. He is
Yeah,
incredible.
I mean, it is one of the big names in anime, but like they really really killed it. They've cleaned up all the characters. You know, they look sort of like what you'd imagine one thought they'd look like. And then like when it gets into some of the action, like again, that sort of like rougher animation
Mhm.
pencil sketch style, like literally almost looks like pencil on paper.
Yeah.
Man, it's so good. I've like been rewatching it for this episode, like all week. There are so many scenes that I'm like, oh man, that looks so good.
Yeah.
They
I
fucking
mean,
killed it.
even from the first episode, like, I don't like, I can't remember if this was actually included in the manga when I tried to read it, but, like, there's that, like, random little, like, 20-second, 30-second, like, start scene where it's kinda like you see Mob just fighting all these random monsters and that. And that is animated so beautifully. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like it's animated so beautifully, and you're like, what the hell? I don't think it has even much context to the rest of the series at all. But it just showcases, like, it grabs you like, fucking hell, this looks mad. What is this? Like, it sets you up to see the whole series, and then it brings you into this comedy anime, like half the time, like with the, like you said, the pencil sketch like reactions as well. Like the really basic face. Like Mob is like one of the most basic characters you can draw. And like you just, but when he flips that switch and when he just goes like
Oh
100%,
mate,
you're like freaking
that was one of the things like I did note or like rewatching the series. Whenever Mob like exhibits another emotion or like another power set, the way they change up his facial expression, his hairstyle, like
mm,
you can just sort of feel what is supposed to be there, even if you weren't looking at the screen at the time and it's like 100% like misery or 100% rage or whatever, you know what I mean? Like you can just sort of look at it and you're like, "Oh, I get it." Like I completely understand what's happening right now.
yeah. It does it like the whole like the way they do it, the whole way they animate it just looks so fucking clean. It looks so good, and like it really lends itself. Like it goes from that switch to like, oh, here's this like really basic drawing to like, fucking hell, this looks mad, and like the animation just lends it so well. You're like, it's so great. But like that's just like one part of the series, like just the animation and the story there. Like there's like all the characters as well are quite funny. Like
Yeah.
Reagan is like
Oh,
one of
mate.
my favorite characters. I was watching the first episode of the third season today, and like, it just made me. It just reminded me so much because I haven't seen the first 2 seasons in ages because I just basically binge watched it in the space of a week just because I was like, this is so good. I'm just gonna continue watching it, but. It's been a while since I watched it, so unlike you, who's probably got it quite fresh in your mind, I can't remember too much about what happened in the last 2 seasons, apart from very specific things.
Mhm.
But what I do remember, as soon as I came back to the series and watched season 3, episode 1, it's just like I was literally like, Reagan is such a
Oh,
dick.
dude,
He,
Reagan
he
is
is,
my favorite character,
yeah,
and it's because he is like a weird genius, but massive idiot at the same time.
yeah,
Like, there's so many times where Reagan has that moment where you're just like, he's the best. He knows
yeah.
it. He's got this on lock. And then there's other times where you're like, you're an idiot.
You're like the worst person right
Yeah,
now. You're
like
like,
this is like a perfect example is like he always knows what to say, right?
Mm.
To get Mob in the right mindset when it comes to it. But
Yeah.
then this is also the same man in the first like scene of the first episode gets called up to do an exorcism, and then he does his special move, Salt Splash, where he chucks a bunch of salt around, and even the spirit's like, "Yeah, this hasn't been purified, so it won't affect spirits. It's just table salt." But then, like, on the packet, it's like says Hakata salt, so it's like probably supposed to be like expensive table salt
Yeah.
that Reagan's just started chucking around in the room.
Oh man. Like but like you said, even like from the first episode, you're like, oh my god, this guy is just basically a leech. He's leeching off this kid that actually does have psychic powers. But then like you said, you see Mob and Reagan's like relationship, like bro, like it's quite well formed at the start, but it just gets better and better as the series goes
Yeah,
on. And like you just really do feel like okay, like Reagan's like basically like like the most best sensei you can have, but also the worst sensei as well. Like
I
he's like the kind of guy that like who's there for Mob like when he needs him. Like if he sees a Mob struggling or whatever, he's there like Mob, I'm here for you, all that
yeah,
sort of
but
stuff.
before any of that, he's probably the reason Mob almost got to 100% stress in the first place because, like
Yeah.
Pepe said, he basically uses the kid. He calls him up like last minute all the time, like,
Yeah.
"Mob, we got a job. Oi, Mobu!"
Oh, yeah, Mob.
Like, yeah, moshi moshi, Mobu. Like, but
Uh,
before we go any further, I realize we haven't given a short breakdown of what Mob Psycho even is. We just started gushing straight
I
away.
mean, I feel like, yeah, if you clicked on this episode and you don't know what Mob Psycho is, like, first of all, watch the freaking series. Like, definitely
Yes,
watch the series
do
before
that.
anything. But
But
Nathan, you can go ahead, give a quick rundown of Mob
okay,
Psycho
so
before
Mob
we get into
Psycho
anything. So,
is about this main character, Shigeo Kageyama, or Mob is his nickname. He's a psychic or an esper, and he lives in a world where there are natural espers and lots of paranormal activity. It's basically how Mob comes to accept he has these powers and a responsibility, and how he grows with the sort of expectation he's given himself. And he's got like a cast of characters. Each person has their own thoughts and feelings on like espers in the world. And it's basically just following Mob as he grows as a person.
yeah, that was
Without
basically it. That's a
like yeah,
rundown. Yeah.
without spoiling anything. Yeah, it's just Mob growing as a person. And it is really good because like we just were saying before all of that, he's got his sensei or his shisho, his master, Reagan. He's got his brother, Ritsu, who his younger brother, who is like the typical anime sort of antithesis. He's like good at everything, and Mob's like good at nothing except being psychic. And then you've got like other characters who get introduced. Like the only other one I think is sort of important is Teruki Hanazawa. You know, the other kid from the other school.
Yeah, yeah.
Initially is like he's like introduced as a villain because it's sort of like what Mob could have been. And that's the thing, like this whole series is like a lot of espers get introduced, but they're like what Mob could have been if he was a different person. Like if he was just like, oh, I have these powers and I'm special. I'm just gonna use them to my advantage. Fuck the rest of the world. Except Mob isn't like that.
Mob is like one of like the prime examples of a really good like, whose like powers are off the charts. Like he's
Yeah.
kind of compare it to like Saitama in some aspects, where Saitama's overpowered, but he like like you see like the world builds around him and like, he takes care of shit and like he's unrecognized in some senses. Whereas Mob is not so much overpowered in the world of espers. Like there are some espers that are on the same level as him,
Yes.
but like they're not like it's not like he's the most overpowered character in this. Like there are some people that are though, but there's a
He's
lot of
just the most reluctant to use his powers.
and he is also like on a lower like compared to other characters as well. They're on a lower scale compared to him as well. Like some people like I think in the first season or whatever, there's this guy like, oh, I can bend spoons or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And like meanwhile Mob's like
He does
freaking
that every day when he's eating. Like
yeah.
he bends
Like
spoons all the time just at dinner, just because he's too strong. Like, but yeah, it's like Pepe saying like Mob's not like OP,
No.
but because he had a traumatic experience and because of Reagan, he sort of has that like Spider-Man Uncle Ben thing. He understands like with
Mm.
great power comes great responsibility. So he really doesn't want to use it because he doesn't want to hurt people. He just wants to be a normal person. But he does understand he is like way stronger than anyone else because of his psychic powers.
Yeah, not exactly like Psyche, like he wants to be live a normal life or whatever. Like he isn't inconvenienced by his powers either. It's like that's the difference between some of those series as well. Like when you got two like comedy psychic animes compared to like Psyche, and you got Mob Psycho, like they're very different scales. And I
Yeah.
think like Mob definitely feeds more into the battle side of it at times, and but also feeds into high school life as well. Like you said, Mob just wants to live a normal life. Like he just he just like what was it? He's like he's got a crush at school, and
Yeah,
then like
he's
he
he's
joins.
into the school idol, like the prettiest girl in school, Subomi-chan, and he's always like after her, but she sort of notices him, but he's one of those like quiet characters, so he tends to blend into the background a lot.
And then you got like the club that he joins at school.
The body improvement
But
club.
there's so many good moments in this. We won't go into too much detail about that in case
I love
anyone
those guys,
hasn't
by the
watched it.
way, just because every time you see them, they're like they're posing, they're flexing, but they're also like the most wholesome guys. They're
Oh,
not like
absolutely, yeah.
toxic at all. They're about improving themselves in every aspect, and they love having Mob there because they're like, you're the bravest of us all, right? You're the most consistent, but they're also great because it's Japan, and like I watched the sub
Yeah.
and every time they go on a run, all you can hear is "Fight on! Fight on! Fight on!"
Love that. I mean, that's this is the one thing as well with it, like you have a lot of psychic characters in this series, but you also have a lot of like normal ones as well.
Yeah,
And the wholesome thing about this in this series is that like the ones with no powers can sometimes come through, and then they'll be like the most inspirational ones out of like everyone. And like the bodybuilding club at one point has like this really amazing scene. I think it's in. I think it might be at the end of season one or season two. I think it is.
it depends on what scene you're talking
Yeah,
about.
I don't like. There's this one scene where it's like I don't want. It's a quite a big spoiler as well, so I don't want to like go too much into it. But
Oh,
there's
fair.
I know there's one scene which I thought like they really come through that whole
I
thing. Like I
mean,
think it's
to
the
be
leader,
fair,
like Goda.
in
I think
they
he.
have a scene like that in both seasons where they
Yeah,
really, really shine and like they really come through for Mob.
yeah,
But there's also like there's this one scene in season 2 because you know
yeah,
like in season 1 the school delinquent ends up joining the club, the body improvement club.
yeah, yeah,
And in season 2 there's this whole like subplot when Mob really wants to complete the school marathon to impress Subomi-chan, and
yeah,
he's gathered up the courage. If he finishes in the top 10 he's going to ask her on a date.
yeah.
And like this guy comes in and he was like the school delinquent. He thought he ran the school until like something happened in season 1, and then Mob gained like the recognition of like the shadow leader of that school, and they call him White Tea Poison. This guy respects him as his like shadow leader, so he like bursts in the room. He does this whole like speech. He gives Mob some new trainers, and then the captain of the body improvement club through the window like it's open. They're doing squats, and he's like, "Oh, so you got the trainers that he bought in the wrong size? Nice." And and it's just after this other group were like, man, he's so cool, so inspirational. And the guy's just like, oh, you got his trainers that he bought in the wrong size. Congrats.
Oh man, there's so many good. Like I said, I kind of just want to rewatch it again. Like I think I did actually try at one point, but I think I just got distracted. But like I do really love the series. It is good. I kind of need to recap a little bit just because, like, I did go into season three thinking like I do not remember like who this character is or like there's one character who's like his design completely changed. I won't
Interesting.
say it's oh what's his face? He was in the like top five psychics or whatever. I can't remember what his freaking name is.
Oh,
Um
Serizawa.
Serizara, that was it. Yeah, the umbrella guy.
Yeah, it's
Um
because it happens in the end of season 2.
yeah, because like his whole design changes as well.
Yeah.
And I remember I felt like the name Serizawa was familiar or whatever. And I was like, this guy's definitely been in it before. Why do I remember this guy? And then I realized like, yeah, he's working with Reagan now.
Yeah.
And it is just like completely different. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy. Okay. And then it kind of triggered a few memories of like what happened at the end of season 2 as
Oh, mate,
well.
I tell you what,
So
Serizawa is great in the, in between season 2 and 3, there was a Reagan, like, OVA, and Serizawa's hilarious in that. Because like, basically in the OVA, Reagan invites everybody to, an onsen, but it's also part of a job. And basically, if you fall asleep on the train going through a specific tunnel going to the onsen, you get trapped in a parallel world.
Jesus.
But
Okay.
Reagan's the only one who doesn't have psychic powers. So he gets stuck in there every time he falls asleep. And Serizawa's trying to like read a bunch of business books because it's his first proper job. So he's trying to impress the boss and he doesn't want to do anything wrong. So he keeps s- falling asleep, getting trapped in there with Reagan, trapped, quote unquote. Right. I'm just going to spoil because it's the OVA. It doesn't really
Yeah,
like play
yeah.
into anything. Basically, Serizawa can wake up and just leave. So he keeps waking up, leaving, hanging out with the rest of the cast, like Mob, Ritsu, Taruki, and then like in the onsen, having a bath, eating
Yeah.
dinner, like all that stuff. And then coming back, and Reagan's like more disheveled every time. And he's like, "Where have you been?" And he's like, uh, outside? Like, at one point, he comes back and he's wearing the, like, yukata from the onsen, and he brings him the rice balls that the hotel managers made and everything, and Reagan's, like, eating it all and then realizes, "Hang on a sec, where did these come from and what are you wearing?" And he's like, "From the room? From the onsen?" And Reagan that's when Reagan realizes this whole time that he's been disappearing back to the real world, and he's like, "Why did you not bring me with you?" And Serizawa's just literally comes back with, "Oh, so I read these books and it says you're supposed to just do what the boss says, so I was just doing what you were saying. I didn't think you would want me to bring you back." And this whole time Reagan's been like eating whatever food he has. He's like growing a beard and shit, like he's got like stubble and stuff.
I need to
And
watch this, I
you
haven't
do,
seen
it's
this.
so
Yeah,
funny because it's just everybody else is having a great time at this onsen and like
yeah.
Reagan's having the worst time ever. But it's hilarious. Like honestly, I think it was funny. And it was a good sort of
Oh.
like little side story.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely have to check it out then, because this came out when did it come out? Like, I feel like it was
The OVA, I think it came out like maybe 6 months after the end of season two.
oh, so it's a while ago
Yeah,
then. Yeah,
all of that was quite a while ago, but that was the first time I
yeah.
ever watched it. Like, I don't know why I didn't watch it before,
Oh, I
but
need to. I think it's just one of those ones because it was such a if it did come out like 6 months after, then like you might have just forgotten about it, or like it wouldn't have
probably.
been announced or whatever. But yeah, okay, I'll definitely check it out.
Though, yeah, I highly recommend it. That was a really good one.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, did you ever watch the Mob Psycho live action at all?
I did actually for the live actions I did with Wildebeest. I
Was that an
watched the
episode? Did I miss that?
that was part of it. It was only shortly mentioned because
Okay,
I
yeah.
was the only one who watched it, and I only watched
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
think 2 episodes. It's not bad. It's not bad.
That's surprising, because that's the one thing I remember watching the trailer for it. And I was like, "This looks really weird. I don't know if I like this." And that kind of just put me off it. But
It's
yeah,
actually a pretty decent like adaptation. Obviously, I'd prefer to watch the anime because you can get more of those
mm,
like crazy facial expressions and like
yeah.
the actions a lot crazier. But like as a live action goes, it's actually not bad.
Okay, fair. But it's a better reaction than I thought it was gonna be. To be honest, I was
Yeah,
surprised by
honestly,
that.
it's
Okay.
not. I wouldn't be like, oh, you gotta watch the live action, man. That's so like no. If you already like Mob Psycho, then and you're curious,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
give it a go. But if you've got no intention of even watching the anime, I wouldn't bother. But again,
Mm,
as live actions go, considering they're normally all pretty bad, that one's
yeah.
actually not that bad. It's pretty
Okay, yeah.
decent.
It's like okay, basically. Is it like is
Yeah, I would say like you know on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say it's like a 6.5. It's
Okay,
pretty
yeah,
decent.
sound. Okay. Okay, I might give it a shot then. I think it's still on Netflix. I don't know, it might be on Netflix
I
still.
think it still is.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you're like Pepe and you've already seen Mob Psycho and you're curious, seriously though, like go and watch an episode. It's not too bad. They've really tried. The casting is decent. It's a bit jarring because if you've watched the anime, you've sort of got like voices in your head of what the characters sound like, and you sort of
Mm.
you have the animated characters, so you're like, this is what they should sort of look like. But I think the guy they got to play Reagan is good. The person they've got to play Mob is pretty good. I think the person who plays, the girl who's the head of the telepathy club,
Yeah.
I think she's maybe a bit too energetic in the
Okay,
live action,
yeah.
but you can sort of tell who's who.
Yeah, I might give it. I'm more inclined towards the OVA than the live action, but I'm tempted. I'm
Yeah,
tempted.
I mean, for sure watch the OVA, but if you're curious, watch an episode of the live action. Again, actually not that bad.
Fair, fair. Okay. Like one thing I wanted to mention as well, like just is the openings of Mob Psycho.
Oh, mate,
Openings for season 1 and 2 are like phenomenal. I love those
they've been
openings. They
on
are
our
so sick.
playlists from day one. Like, as soon as we
So
could get
freaking
those
good.
songs, we
Yeah.
definitely did. I haven't heard I think I might have listened to the 3rd opening, when they leaked not leaked, but, they, like, put it
Like they
out.
uploaded it early, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, but I wasn't super paying attention to it, and I'm, like, curious, is it as good as 1 and 2?
Me personally, on first impressions, I don't feel like it is. But you know when you keep on watching it,
Yeah. Well, that's
like
the
it
thing, like, I think
yeah.
the 2nd one I didn't like as much as the 1st one, but like you said, the more episodes you end up watching, the
See,
more you hear it.
I was kinda like the opposite way around. I actually preferred the second one
Is
more than
it?
the first one,
Interesting.
yeah. Yeah, because that was 99.9, weren't it? And, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I like that one. But yeah, like, I just wanted to mention those. Those are, like, some sick openings. Like, they did well with that. Some some, good pump up tunes, let's put it that. I'd say, like, opening 3 does still keep that sort of vibe. It is still, like, the pump up vibe. And it does that thing where it switches all between the characters and stuff as well, like
Mhm.
quick switches. Very similar to opening 2. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't give me the same hype, but is I've only just watched it today, and I need to watch it some more. So
Yeah, and to be
I'll
fair, like, there's only, like, 1 episode out at the moment for season 3, in
yeah,
it? So, like,
we'll have like it was. It's usually about 24 episodes in a season, isn't there? Like
something like that. It's quite like, they're quite long, so we'll probably get used to it over time, but it also
absolutely,
needs to
yeah,
be said, like, these aren't like other animes, like, where they have a band that already has a song, like, these are custom made for these
absolutely,
anime.
yeah.
Like, this Mob Psycho has its own opening. These songs didn't exist before the show was created, so that's still in itself, like, something, like
The fact they made it like that good as well, like sometimes it comes across a bit cheesy if like a song is specifically written for
yeah.
an anime. Sometimes it just feels a bit like ugh.
No,
like,
I get what you mean. It's like,
he's like sometimes the lyrics are just a bit too on the nose, and it just feels like
These
yeah,
ones, yeah, these ones are actually good, and the lyrics are kinda,
yeah,
like, relevant to the theme of the show.
yeah.
Go listen to those if you haven't, by the way,
Go
as
watch the
well.
anime as well if you haven't.
Yeah, like, if it's got Mob
Right.
Psycho on it, go and try it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would get this far into the episode and not realize we really like this show.
Like, I'd recommend it to anyone that loves One Punch Man. Like, if you
Oh, for
love
sure.
One Punch Man, I feel it's part of me is willing to say that I prefer. Actually, no, I will say this. I do prefer this more than One Punch
Yeah,
Man.
I that's not even a competition. I think Mob
Yeah, like
Psycho is way better than One Punch Man.
it kind of feels a little bit underrated when you put it into that perspective as well. Just because like One Punch Man, it does come through. Like One Punch Man's a brilliant anime. Like
Yeah,
season 1 was anyway. I haven't actually watched season 2.
I
I
haven't
read the
seen
manga
season
and
2
just didn't.
either. But,
I heard it wasn't as good though, but I don't know. That's speculation for me.
I think it's just because the way maybe they split it, but anyway,
Yeah.
I think Mob Psycho is better than One Punch Man because Mob Psycho is deeper. And I don't wanna make it
Yeah.
sound like, "Oh, man, it's so philosophical." No, it's not like that, but it's got a bit. more depth than One Punch Man.
I feel like the concept of One Punch Man as well is really funny. It's really great at the
Yeah.
start, but realistically, it is the same thing. He just like does. He's just a really overpowered dude in in a universe where like it is kind of like he's just overpowered. He's just overpowered as hell. And what Mob Psycho actually you can see a bit of character development in some of this. So
Yeah, there's lessons to be learned, and it's not always Mob, but like another character might learn something from
yeah,
interacting with Mob. You always sort of like see some sort of growth in someone, and there's like motives and stuff. Whereas One Punch Man, it's normally like, thing turns up, everyone else tries, they grow to a certain extent, but then Saitama comes in, one hit KO, done.
yeah. Was there like another series that one did, or am I making that up? I feel like there was like another, like a
I
third series that just
don't
didn't.
know, but I only know of these two.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not sure if
swear.
there's a what if one's done another thing. But at the same time, like both are still ongoing from what I know. So a
I
third series
believe
might
they
be a
are.
bit
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure they
I'm
are,
just
like,
looking at it now.
because
I feel like one. I think that Mob Psycho actually ended back
did it?
in 2017. Apparently, well, it had like 5 years worth of content. So it started in 2012, finished in 2017. One Punch Man is still going.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess there probably is only so many scenarios you can come up with before it's like
He did a
recycling.
spin off. He did a spin off called Reagan. So
At least he picked the best character. Like,
and that ended in 2019. So realistically, the series went. Like, I'm going. It says spin-off of Mob Psycho, but I'm gonna feel like that's a continuation, basically. So I'm gonna put it to like Mob Psycho went from 2012 to 2019.
7 years
So
of doing that.
yeah, that is like. I mean, it's a great work either way. Like,
Yeah.
and like you said, like it's always best to end on something that I feel like. I don't know, like. Like if it feels like a good place to end it, just end it there. You don't like you don't want to run it just for the sake of running it.
Yeah, exactly. There's no point going beyond the natural end because then you're just milking it.
Absolutely. Fair man. Is there anything else you want to say about Mob Psycho before? Like, what are your expectations from season three? Do you have any expectations from season three at all before you've watched it at all?
I kind of don't because, like, it's. I don't even know what would happen because the whole thing of season one and two was like, one was like introducing all the characters and the build up of Claw. Two
Mm-hmm.
is like the fallout of Claw.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I guess these are spoilers, but like, that's just how it sort of breaks down, right? It's basically all about Claw, but
Mm.
I don't know what three is about.
So, do you want me to say much about it, or would you rather just
I'd
watch?
kind of rather you didn't, because I kind of want to
Yeah.
experience it like fresh, but at the same time, because I don't have Crunchyroll Premium, I can't fucking watch it yet.
The only thing I kind of know is probably from the trailer, so I can just assume. Have you watched the trailer?
I think I avoided it for whatever reason.
Okay, yeah. In which case, then yeah, I won't say much because I feel the trailer kind of does set up the villain for this arc. I think.
Okay.
And I it's one of the ones that you probably like. We haven't even mentioned him in this episode, to be honest. They are a returning character, and like I'm curious to where it goes and see how this goes because
Okay.
I think I know what happens. I think I know what happens
Interesting.
or
Okay.
what will happen or how the villain comes about. But it's still early days. Anything can happen. I've only watched the trailer in episode one, so who knows? But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the series, though. I'm looking forward to it, getting back into it again. But yeah, is there anything else you want to say, Nathan, before we wrap this up? I guess.
No, I don't think so. Not without getting into spoiler territory, and that's not really what I want to do. I
Nah.
just want to gush about a series I like, encourage people to go and support that series so it can continue. That's about it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think takeaway from this episode, guys, if you haven't watched Mob Psycho, watch this whole episode and finish this episode, got to this point. I'm surprised that you didn't listen to us and just go switch off and watch this freaking anime because it is brilliant. But if you're just here and you love Mob Psycho as much as we do, you can understand where we're coming from.
Yeah.
It's a great anime, and yeah, let us know your thoughts as well. Do you think it's underrated compared to like One Punch Man or something like that? Like, we want to hear your thoughts on this as well, because I think this needs more Like this series needs more love. It has got a lot of love, but it needs more.
Yeah, it does. It does need way more recognition. It is far too underrated for how good it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, with that, thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, hit that bell button so you get notified, leave us a comment, like Pepe said, and check us out on podcast platforms. We've got the links in the description below, and we'll catch you next week for another episode. Bye, guys.
Bye.